Seattle's Morning News. This is Dave Ross with Colleen O'Brien. February 11th is officially Women and Girls in Science Day. And so we figure we can spend one day a year talking about women and girls in science. So we have a couple of women in science. And Dr. Sherrill Slichter is a professor of medicine at the University of Washington and also works at Bloodworks Northwest in Seattle. And the reason we wanted to talk to you is that you got into your field, 45 years ago now? And back then, is it true that you were told, if you go to medical school, you'll be taking the place of a man who needs the job to feed his family?
Yes.
Really? What was your reaction to that?
Well, this was the first day of medical school. There was a pharmacy across the street that had a lunch counter. And so I sat down at one of the seats at the lunch counter. And when I went to medical school, they had restricted admissions for women. So there were only 5 women. And so this gentleman who sat down next to me recognized me as being one of his classmates. So he bent over to me and he said, "Do you understand that you're taking the place of somebody who could use this education?" And, I really didn't respond because what can you say? I mean, the guy was an idiot. I mean, it was though the only reason women were there were to catch a husband who was a doctor. And I can tell you that of the 5 women who were there, every single one of us practiced medicine. With the exception of a couple of us, we're still practicing medicine.
What kept you persisting? Because that might have scared somebody away. You had the confidence to keep going. How'd you get that?
Well, I've thought about that question a lot over the years, but I had been told on numerous prior occasions by actually my high school biology professor when I wanted to take math and chemistry and physics. She said, "Well, you can't possibly do that. You're going to flunk out." And I just said, the guys are doing it. Why can't I do it? So she made me literally take my class card home every semester and have my parents sign.
As if you needed permission.
As if I needed permission. Oh. So that when I flunked out, it wouldn't only be her fault.
Dr. Emily Fawcett is also here. She's the Science Engagement Officer at Bloodworks Northwest. I'd be curious to know what your seatmate told you on your first day of medical school. Was it something like, "You're taking a man's job, what are you doing here?" Or was it different than that?
Yeah, so I went to graduate school. I got my PhD in molecular and cellular biology, and actually very different from Sherrill's experience. My class was majority female. So I think that says a lot about the path that was paved by the people who came before us. So my seatmate was mostly another woman. But it definitely was not an experience that we had to have, thankfully, in 2010 when I started graduate school.
Do you have hope that more women or young girls are going to enter the STEM? Because we still have struggles at the elementary school level to get young girls interested. And a lot of it is discouragement by adults in their life. So do you have hope that that's changing as well?
Absolutely. And my job title even speaks to it, Science Engagement Officer. I've kind of taken it as my passion to help encourage people who find science inaccessible to help it become more accessible to them. I think that we're seeing a trend that women are going into the fields of STEM more, maybe less so in some of the physical sciences and in engineering, but there's a lot of programs out there to get elementary-aged middle school students interested in it. And I definitely say that just offering more opportunities to learn will always help us out and get us in that direction. Again, like Sherrill always says, find the thing that you're passionate about and follow it through.
So what opportunities are there for parents to show their daughters the opportunities that exist so that from the very beginning they don't have this idea that maybe they don't belong in a certain field?
One of my favorite current examples is Legos just came out with a Women in NASA series. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's silly, as silly as that sounds. I have it as well.
Yes.
Just having it be much more, even in mainstream, things like Legos, having somebody to be able to look at a little Lego in a lab coat speaks, I think, volumes.
I think all fields are now open to women. I would say to young people, just pick your passion. Pick what you're interested in and go for it, and you will have I often talk to young people, and the young people that I talk to are all physicians, and they're all quite bright. And so I just say, your challenge is to figure out what you want to do, not can you do it.
I like that.
The other thing I say to young people is life is a long time. You better like what you're doing, or it's going to seem even longer.
Dr. Sherrill Slichter and Emily Fawcett from Bloodworks Northwest. International Women's and Girls in Science Day is this Sunday, the 11th. Dr. Slichter will be speaking at the Pacific Science Center February 20th.